Are you ready to grow your pro?
Hi, Anna Gosselin here, Vice President for Client Services at EMAS Pro. Today's exercise is to help you grow your pro. This is getting ready for the EMAS conference coming up in June, where we hope that you'll send at least one person, if not a team, to San Diego and have the remainder of your team attend remotely from campus. If you are going to attend only remotely, that's great too. This exercise is going to get us ready together to grow your pro. In your pre-conference care package that you received in the mail, you will need today the pyramid assembled, and you'll need the sticky dots to go with it, and we're going to step you through the instructions for this exercise. Please pick a color of dot for each person in the room, and if there's more people than colors, then do it by roles so that your counselors have one color, director another color, admissions processors, support staff, however you'd like to divide that. All right, let's get started.
Our learning objectives today are for each of you to understand your responsibility to healthy data management, both individually and as a team. Also to identify the drivers for your own contribution to data management and acknowledge the foundation that you're starting with. As a team, you'll be identifying your balance and your gaps. You're going to use this information to guide your participation in the 2017 EMAS Pro Conference, including selecting which sessions you'll be attending. You'll notice on your pyramid that each of those four sides are supporting each other. We are calling each of these four areas superpowers, and we're going to be talking about those superpowers today. Just a quick look at the superpowers. Relationship management, where data comes from and how it's used to build relationships. It's done by many people on your team. Process design, the superpower increases effectiveness and evaluates your data flow and best practices. The interpreter superpower to have insights and identify actionable information, benchmarks, trends, and comparisons. And then the vision superpower for forecasting, prediction, and overall strategy. We'll be starting our discussion with relationship management. It's basically the core because it's where the data comes from. The red dot we're going to talk about at the keynote, so please join us for that for the June conference. The relationship management superpower is the orange side of your pyramid, so we're going to get ready to look at that. I want to share this quote with you. Data are just summaries of thousands of stories. Tell a few of those stories to help make the data meaningful. As you build relationships with your student, that is what builds the rich data that you have in EMAS Pro. And that makes a difference. And it's different than just transactional data. It is data that helps you to build that relationship, and then you can mine that data to help learn what works, what doesn't work, and how to reach your goals. The daily tasks related to the relationship management superpower include developing rich data, relying on that data to target your efforts, identifying opportunities for data collection in all of the activities that you're doing to recruit students, tracking all of your efforts, interactions, and results, and using that data to manage your territories and sub-territories. This is also a team effort. You can share emerging and changing data collection opportunities with each other, but also all the information you're putting into EMAS may be viewed and used by other members of the team who may be interacting with that student as well, either on the phone or at an event or other interactions. You're going to be using this side of the pyramid, the orange side, as we go through a few examples of what things look like when you're having great success with this superpower. I want to show you a quick example when the relationship management superpower is not being used to its fullest. This is an EMAS record, and you'll see that it doesn't have very much information on it. It just has what the system is automatically sending out for the contact history, and it has very minimal information about the student. By contrast, this example shows better relationship management happening within EMAS Pro. This example of a student record has a lot of information being recorded, information that is important for assessment and understanding best practices for recruiting students over time and helping you recruit the student better and build that strong relationship. You'll notice source code is populated. You'll notice that the student's interest in the university is populated. You'll notice that when the phone call was made, there are notes about what happened during the call that can inform the next steps when you communicate with the student again. Details about their major, details about their test scores, and where they went to high school. Moving on to a few more data points that make this very rich data. We know exactly what's coming up for this student. We're tracking the competitor college, where else the student has applied, and what level, what choice they have on those institutions compared to the one that you are recruiting them for. Some of the differences between that minimal data management and the more robust relationship management going on in EMAS Pro is that it increases transparency. It gives credit to each of you for the work that you're doing. It improves effectiveness and efficiency. It supports decisions that you'll make. And this is where we're going to be in the interpretation and vision superpowers, that they need this data to do what they're doing. It's good for your reputation in terms of sounding to the student like you have continuity and you're all on the same page, and it provides much better service to the student to influence stronger loyalty. The more data that you have available from your relationship management, the more informative the reports that you run will be. When you're looking at your conversion rate based on information like high school or competitor college, you have the ability to then target your efforts, and that will be very helpful for the people with the process design superpower. And territory managers can see how others are interacting with their students. For example, this report of the results of phone calling from the night before, I may want to see what the telecounselors talked about with the students that I'm recruiting. While you consider how to get more of your interactions with students recorded in EMAS, you may not be aware of every way that EMAS tracks interactions with students. On this screen are 10 frequently underused data points in EMAS, and I encourage you to use this as a starting point for expanding. Some of the areas that will suffer when you have slim data collection are the accuracy of your queries and reports, the student-counselor relationship, your communication flow, support for your goals and projections, having data to inform your strategy, being able to run significant data analytics, and ultimately, when these things are not well supported, then your student enrollment also suffers. I'm going to ask you to take the orange side of your pyramid and your sticky dots by user or by person and put dots on the areas of the relationship management superpower where you really do have superpowers, where you have it covered. Once you've finished, go ahead and restart the video to move on. Please take notes of the conversation as it unfolds around this superpower. Go ahead and pause. Welcome back. We're going to be looking at kryptonite now that you've had a chance to consider and discuss where your strengths are with relationship management. I'm going to ask you to have one person on the team in the room to record your notes and have a chance to look at kryptonite. This is things that prevent you from doing a good job with this superpower. Kryptonite exported lists to use the data outside of EMAS where your activities are not recorded back in the system. Having great conversations and outreach that don't get recorded. Having a fear of queries and reports where you don't use the data that you've input. Missing opportunities by not using EMAS to inform your priority recruitment targets. That's a territory management kryptonite area. And missing opportunities to gather the data from the get-go. There are others, and I'd like to have you stop the video again and record your kryptonite. We're moving on to the green side of your pyramid, the process design superpower. The process design superpower is really focused on evaluating and enhancing your data integrity, finding ways to increase data sources and data capture, seeking ways to build rules, schedules, automations, and standards, and defining requirements and specifications for what the data needs to look like, how it needs to be integrated with other systems, and how each of you are going to use that data. Frequently, the process design superpower translates to evangelizing best practices in training, defining clear workflow and data flow requirements, Being persuasive, which means that things need to be measurable. Leveraging resources and professional networks not only on campus, but throughout the EMAS Pro professional network. Learning how others have solved similar challenges to avoid reinventing the wheel. Being effective change managers. And the credibility that comes with frequently being the comprehensive answer person. Okay, get the green side of your pyramid ready. I have some examples to share with you. This is University of Wisconsin Parkside's user guide for their internal use of EMAS Pro. They have created this. The process designer superpower person on their team created this to help the people on the team know exactly how to use various aspects of EMAS Pro, and I've got a few examples of this. The process designer at UWP included exactly how to use each of the fields within their process flow, within their workflow and design. What to do with each field when you're doing data entry on the quick entry screen. It's all laid out. This is a cheat sheet for all the users that are doing data entry there, and the process designer initiated this. This is something that's unique to their process and their workflow. Process designers also frequently monitor process results. This is an example of a telecounseling report where the process designer is checking in to see how the telecounseling is going, amount of time being spent, and identifying whether any of the users may need some training based on the data that's indicated. Process designers also are frequently the people who are designing the data flow and determining the requirements for data flow between systems and EMAS Pro. This is a simple example of data flow and data integration between EMAS Pro and the student information system, and where the data is coming from to load into EMAS Pro. As process designers are involved in making sure that all the data is being used, that the data flow is for highest efficiency, sometimes that needs to be reevaluated. This is another example where it gets a little more complicated and the data is flowing the other direction from the student information system to EMAS Pro, showing the data and information that's going in different places. This is unique per institution, so this is just an example of how it is at some institutions. Process designers also frequently need to evaluate when new data sources are available, how they're going to be integrated, and how they are best going to serve the recruitment of the student, the staff on your team, and making sure it gets delivered into all the appropriate places. This is an example for the state of North Carolina where they recently instituted a residency code that's being used by the entire state. The EMAS process designer at this institution needed to determine how and where that residency code was going to go and to flow into the other sources. Process designers sometimes get very complicated. When there is a lot of input and output and sharing of data around campus systems, this is just an example of one of our process designers in our client base that really has a strong superpower here that's designed quite an efficient way to get all of the data going where it needs to be. Process design is about making it efficient. It doesn't need to be complicated. When simple is the best choice, a process designer is also determining that. The process design superpower also is keeping tabs on the data dominance rules. This is an example of the EMAS data dominance rules being set. This is to make sure that bad data doesn't clobber good data, and that if you're transferring data between your student information system and EMAS, that it's very clear where the data originates and where it overwrites or does not overwrite. Process designers know the cost of inaccurate and incomplete data, and they are focused on data integrity. Poor data integrity can really result in reputation issues because you may be misrepresenting what's going on with your institution to your students, or misrepresenting what's going on with your students. It can cost a lot of staff time if there's not efficient processes. All of this can influence student enrollment. It can bring up your postage and printing costs when you have a lot of duplicate records or inaccurate addresses, and then additional opportunity costs as well. Please take your pyramid and take a look at the green side. Take your color sticky dots, and you're going to be pausing this video and placing your sticky dots based on role or based on person on the areas that you feel you have covered very well in the process design superpower. Go ahead and pause. Now that you've identified your strengths and your superpowers with the process design, let's take a look at kryptonite, the vulnerabilities for the process designer, rabbit holes, and what I mean by that is analysis to paralysis. When you try too hard to make something perfect, you may be missing out on getting things done from the get-go. So we recommend that you start where you can with what you can and mature it over time. Redundancy, when you're looking at tracking anything and everything, which we strongly encourage, it can be easy to track the same thing in multiple places, which may just increase effort without giving you additional benefit. And that perfectionism I just mentioned. I'd like to have you pause the video again and take note with your designated note taker of what you feel your kryptonite is in the process design area. Let's now look at the interpreter superpower, the purple side of your pyramid. The interpreter superpower is really focused on outcomes, measurements, and assessments. The interpreters make connections and correlations. They find new opportunities to streamline, collaborate, and grow enrollment. They may be identifying areas of new markets based on the data indicating such. They are the communicator of information through a lot of reporting and looking at what the reports mean. So it's not just looking at the report, but identifying what information is relevant to take away and take action on. The interpreters frequently providing a lot of reality checks, insight, and they have a lot of intuition when it comes to how to ask questions of the data. Interpreters know when to dig for clarification. Data by itself doesn't have meaning unless someone is interpreting it and making meaningful outcomes from it. This is the interpreter's job. You'll see on the interpreter side, you've got areas of decision support, analysis, and finding the sweet spots, where I say, you may be finding some areas for new markets. You may be finding areas for new opportunities to communicate or new locations to travel. Interpreters tend to use reports a lot and compare them to see the results and see what they can infer from those results. Just as a quick example, if we wanted to identify how influential successful phone calls were in gaining enrollment, this report might indicate something, but as we look at it, we find we may have more questions. It may be that the students that we called were more likely to enroll. It may be that we called everybody that was already enrolling anyway, people at stage 500. So that's not necessarily indicative of that one report, which leads us to run a different report to find the answer to that question. Ultimately, though, it helps us to ask the right questions. All of that comes down to mining the data. We have an insight here provided by Michigan Tech University about one of the ways that they mine their data. Calls attempted, this is all information about telecounseling phone calls, results, and they monitor it very closely so that they can use it to determine how best to plan their calling for the next year. Key to that is tracking the yield. This is one of their own custom reports. We do have EMAS reports that indicate similar, but they wanted to go further and build their own report to get more detail. This provided them what they needed to understand the call results and the yields together. Interpreters are always seeking new tools to make it easier for them to interpret the data. EMAS Kaleidoscope is one of EMAS Pro's newest tools to help exactly that. EMAS Kaleidoscope is a tool to provide insights about your data through visual representation of your data. This is an example of ACT score compared with a college choice from ACT. So when the student is selecting the university of their choice, first choice, second choice, third choice, overlaid with the test scores, this helps you find sweet spots, areas where you see that you have a correlation between the choice and the score and who enrolls. This is another one of the dashboards in EMAS Kaleidoscope showing a heat map regionally for the country. This is also insightful to look at various student data by region to see if there are new markets you can go after, or to either verify what you already knew or find out that you didn't realize perhaps that you had a significant market opportunity in Chicago or in the Phoenix area. This is the EMAS Kaleidoscope map view to see for international student recruitments where you're getting most of your applicants' inquiries and so forth. This is again insightful to help you know if you're meeting your goals or whether you have some new markets emerging that you didn't realize. We really want the interpreters in the room to know about EMAS Kaleidoscope. It is included in what you already have with EMAS Pro, but it does require an installation. This example of your feeder high schools, where you're getting most of the students from your high schools over time to see if your feeder high schools are changing and should influence perhaps your travel schedule. This can be done by territory or by any segmentation of your student data through the dashboard. We're very excited about this particular tool, EMAS Kaleidoscope, for the interpreters. So please attend that session for the conference so that you can learn more about it. Please take the purple side of your pyramid, the interpreter side, and your sticky dots, and place the dots by person or by role on the areas that you feel that you have covered very well. I'd like the note taker in the room to take note of the conversation that's happening, and when you're done with the exercise, restart the video. So go ahead and pause now. Please now consider the kryptonite for interpreters and write down where you have some challenges in this area. Typical kryptonite for interpreters are overlooking a broader context, like university mission, overlooking changes over time, so disregarding time as an element, disregarding inconvenient data, that you're not sure exactly what to do with it, so you ignore it. Rabbit holes, that's that analysis to paralysis area again. And then what else? I know that you have more, so please go ahead and pause and write these down. We'll now take an opportunity to discuss the vision superpower. This is the overarching umbrella over all the others. Take a look at the blue side of your pyramid with the three areas of prediction, forecasting, and optimization. One of the most important things that the vision superpower includes is the context, the outside factors, and things like the university mission that may or may not be represented in the data. And it's important not just to look at the data and what it's telling you, but also what the goals of the institution are and the institutional mission. At the leadership level, the vision superpower is key. These are the folks that are doing the strategic enrollment planning. This is so much a part of the success of the institution, and what you do with EMAS Pro influences this greatly. For this reason, EMAS Pro sponsored an ACRO book in 2013 titled SEM, Transforming Higher Education. We did a seminar series. The videos are available on amasu.com. This is an excerpt of the series about enrollment planning. Strategic enrollment goals being based on the mission, the data, and environmental scanning is very much part of this vision area. The vision superpower is frequently on the shoulders of the senior enrollment managers, the VPs enrollment, the deans of enrollment. One of the chapters of the SEM Transforming Higher Education book is focused on making change and change management. This example of focusing on the restraining forces and the driving forces in order to identify that go-ahead point to move forward with your initiatives is very much part of this blue area. The vision superpower also frequently looks at new trends and where the industry is going. The traditional enrollment funnel on the left of getting as many possible names in the top of the funnel to get your enrolled class has been transforming, where institutions are now trying to narrow that funnel and target and purchase names that are more fit for their institution, process inquiries and applications that are going to likely turn into enrolled students, and to narrow that funnel. This is another example of the focus of someone with that vision superpower. An increasing trend for the Vision Superpower is to rely on predictive analytics. EMAS Pro now offers predictive analytics. If you're interested, please let us know and we would be happy to share with you how we can help you with predictive analytics and predictive scoring. Go ahead and take the blue part of your pyramid and your sticky dots, and after you pause the video, take notes of the discussion and cover the areas that you think your team has done a great job with on the Vision Superpower. Even with the Vision Superpower, there is some kryptonite. It's all about strategic enrollment management, and not having a SEM plan is a big challenge to support the rest of the superpowers. Keeping pace with the changes in higher education is part of the Vision Superpower, and making sure that change management happens in time to be responsive to those changes. And not assigning staff to the other three superpowers is a kryptonite. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video now and see if you guys have this vision covered or where you have areas of improvement, and talk about your kryptonite. When all four superpowers are covered on your campus, it is significant to your enrollment outcomes and your success. We have some homework for you for Learning Objective 3. We'd like you to identify immediate and long-term approaches to address the gaps on your pyramid as a team. Please get started today, and you can at this very meeting. Go ahead and select 3 gaps that, when addressed, will have a noticeable impact on your collective outcomes. We'd like you to make a plan to grow and incorporate these superpowers into your daily routine, and on the next screen we're going to show you some resources that we have to help you. Please attend the 2017 EMAS Pro Conference in June. The full conference program is available at emasu.com. And I'd like to ask you to use the results of this exercise to drive your session selection. So those gaps that you need covered, be sure you're selecting sessions that will help you cover those gaps, especially the 3 that you've picked to focus on right now. And also be sure to join the seminars that we have throughout the year that we offer via the web. Our August seminar about year-end reports and year-end process will be key for the process designers to get that covered. We certainly hope that this session's been valuable to you. We'd like you to take the survey that we'll provide to let us know how we're doing. Your feedback drives our results and how we handle these types of programs in the future. If you have suggestions for improvement that you'd like to share now, please contact us at clienteducation@emaspro.com. After you close this video, I hope you'll continue on with that gap analysis on your pyramid and looking for areas to focus on. Thank you, and we'll see you in June.